my name is Rich WEIR. I'm a registered professional biologist in British Columbia, and today I wanted to take a few minutes to talk about fishers and their populations in BC. The purpose of this short video is to help explain, in a non-technical fashion, the results of some research into the population genetics of fishers that was recently published in the journal Mammalogy. I hope that you'll find that this video will offer some useful insights into fisher populations in the province. Before I start, I want to recognize my co-authors on this paper, Andrew RANKIN, Lacey Robinson, Christy PILGRIM, Mike SCHWARTZ, and Michael LUCID, who were critical to the completion of this research and putting the paper together. For those of you who aren't familiar with fishers, they're a house cat-sized predator in the weasel family that live in the low elevation forests of central and northern BC. I like to think of them as the ninjas of the forest. They're sleek, silent, stealthy, cloaked in black, and most people are unaware that they occur in our forests. Fishers need forests for everything that they do, and because they're sensitive to changes in the forest, industrial forestry activities have had a profound effect on where fishers can live, and as a result, their populations have been declining rather rapidly over the past 30 years. We recognize if we want to keep fishers on the landscape, we need to know more about where and how many populations occur in the province, so that we can work towards making sure that each of those populations are sustainable. So if we look at the range of fishers in BC, if it's a single big population of animals able to move around widely, then if fishers die off in one particular area, that area can easily be repopulated by animals moving in from other, more abundant areas. However, if the population is fragmented, it means that animals cannot move from one population very easily to the other, and threats like logging, wildfire, and trapping can put the population at greater jeopardy. In BC, we have this big mountain range, the Rockies, Skeenas, and Dominicas, that kind of splits the population into two, or the distribution into two. So we were concerned that fisher populations in BC might be fragmented, but we weren't sure. So one way to learn about how populations are set up is to use genetic information from individuals from throughout the range. By looking at how the genetic characteristics of individuals change throughout the range, we can figure out if fishers in BC were one big happy population with animals moving all over the place, or if there were things going on within their range that broke it up into several different populations. So to answer this question, we collected skin samples from 491 fishers, mostly from animals trapped for fur trapping, from throughout their range in BC, and looked at the genetic characteristics and how this varied. What we found was startling, and certainly not what we thought was happening. As it turned out, few fishers are able to make it through those big mountain ranges. Our data says that only about one fisher per year makes it from one side of the mountain range to the other. And this is pretty low. This low rate of exchange between the central interior and the northeastern regions of the province has been happening for long enough that the genetic makeup of fishers in the central interior region have become significantly different from their counterparts in the boreal forest. This resulted in us kind of assessing that there's these two portions of the range of fishers had differentiated into two different populations with different genetic characteristics. The boreal in the north and northeast part of the province, and the Columbian population in the south and west of the Rocky Mountains. The genetic signatures of these fishers were so different, in fact, that we can tell which population a fisher comes from based upon its genetic makeup. Not only was there this really apparent split of the fishers into two populations at the provincial level, but the Columbian population that occurs in the central interior of the province was noticeably subdivided into three populations. These include the Dominica population to the north of the Nechako River, the Chilcotin subpopulation in the south of the Nechako and west of the Fraser Rivers, and the Caribou subpopulation to the east of the Fraser River. Now, fisher populations in the northeast region can't really help the central interior, and even the subpopulations within the central interior can't really help each other out very much because they don't exchange individuals. So all of these subpopulations and populations function more or less independently, with few animals moving amongst them. This understanding that this is what's happening in the fishers in BC really helps us better understand how the populations operate, and allows us to focus our management and conservation efforts at the right scope and scale. For example, we now know that disturbances such as wildfire in a really bad year can really impact the populations more than we thought before, because the populations are smaller and somewhat isolated from each other. Also, we can really double down on actions that are needed to help conserve fishers on the landscape, like trying to reduce the impacts of forestry and trying to mitigate some of the fires that are happening. It also allows us to kind of understand why the population is doing so poorly in the central interior. We know that continued incidental harvest of fishers in the subpopulations in the central interior really is threatening the viability of these populations. It helps us better understand why that is happening. So the take-home messages from this work are, one, that fishers in central BC have been separated from those in the northeast for long enough periods that their populations have diverged, they've separated. Fishers in the Colombian population in the central interior can't rely on fishers from the boreal forest to save them if something happens to them. And even within the central interior, fishers are further subdivided into the 3 subpopulations that need to be managed independently, depending on the threats that are facing each of them. And this really helps us kind of figure out what recovery efforts need to happen. And we realize they need to be regionally focused with different objectives and recovery actions and targets for each subpopulation. So thanks for taking 6 minutes of your day to learn more about the populations of fishers that call British Columbia home. I'd like to thank the Habitat Conservation Trust Foundation, Environment and Climate Change Canada, and the Ministry of Water, Land and Resource Stewardship for supporting this work. Please feel free to contact me if you'd like a copy of the scientific paper or if you have any other questions about the work. Thank you.